So, welcome to the Lunch and Learn workshop for high achieving women. This week, we are talking about creating confidence when you feel like a catastrophe. And if this is something that you struggle with, I want you to walk away today knowing you are not alone. Okay, so and I'm going to give you some good strategies to help you grow some confidence. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Jen Laffin. I'm the founder of Jen Laffin Coaching. I help high achieving women show up for their lives as well as they show up for everyone else and not feel guilty about it. That's the key. So today you are going to learn why we need both confidence and self-confidence because they are not the same thing. We're going to talk about the difference between confidence and arrogance. We will talk about why women struggle with self-confidence and ways you can become more self-confident. I have 9 tips for you. So as you have aha moments or questions that pop up during the presentation, please feel free to throw them into the chat so that we can be sure to talk about them at the end, because I'm sure there will be a few minutes left at the end to answer any questions that you have. So let's begin by talking about what confidence is. Because I said earlier, confidence and self-confidence are 2 different things. However, they are related for sure. Confidence is a firm belief in the truth of something. And the key here is that it's based on proof of having experienced it before. Okay, so some examples of confidence, I might say I'm confident that the sun will rise every morning because every morning when I get up, the sun rises. I am confident that I can make a lasagna because I've done it a lot. Okay. And I am confident in my ability to drive to Chicago and not get lost. That's because I have driven to Chicago and I did not get lost before. Okay. Self-confidence is a belief in your ability and skills to handle anything, even if you have not experienced it before. So we gain confidence through doing things. Self-confidence means that we have a trust in ourselves to do it, even if it's brand new. It's like that self-assurance that we carry with us. Examples of self-confidence. Speaking in front of a group. If you've never spoken in front of a group before, you can certainly call on your self-confidence and find the nerve to be able to do something like that. Another example of self-confidence is the ability to keep going when you feel like giving up, when your primal brain is telling you all the reasons why you should give up and you still keep going. Another example might be sharing your ideas on a blog. So the teacher writers that I work with at Teach Right know that I talk a lot about sharing your writing and sharing your ideas with other people. The first time you do this, it is petrifying. However, you can call on your self-confidence to be able to press publish for the first time. And when you see that you don't die from doing it, you build your confidence, okay? Because then you have experience. Another example of self-confidence that I have self-confidence that I know how to read a map so I can find my way to Florida. Okay, I've never driven to Florida before, but I have confidence, self-confidence that I can do that. Now let's talk about the difference between arrogance and confidence, because I know many of my clients feel maybe that it's wrong to be confident because they don't want to confuse it. They're confusing it with arrogance, and they are not the same thing. So arrogance is having an inflated sense of importance or abilities. Okay, it's thinking that you're better, smarter, faster, more creative than other people, or that you're more of any of those things than you actually are. Confidence, on the other hand, is a belief that you can rely on yourself and your abilities. It's very realistic. Okay, but that line between them is very thin, and a lot of people think that there is no line at all. So you can feel confident and not be arrogant. Okay, So why do women in particular struggle with confidence? Because we don't hear a lot about men struggling with confidence, although I'm sure that many do. But since I coach women, I want to talk about why women in particular struggle with confidence. The first reason is that our primal brain, which if you remember, is that old, unevolved part of our brain that still thinks we're living in prehistoric days with prehistoric problems. And its only goal is to keep us safe, to keep us alive, and to keep us lazy. Those are its three goals. The primal brain is the one that's telling us that we should not be arrogant when we're just being confident. Okay, because the primal brain doesn't want you putting yourself at risk of maybe being confident in doing something or showing self-confidence in doing something, and someone comes and kind of pushes back on you. The primal brain doesn't like that. It sees it as a threat to your safety, even though it's a problem for you, but it's not a life or death problem. Okay. Another reason women struggle with confidence is that us ladies tend to compare ourselves more. We compare ourselves with other women, with ideals that we see on the TV or on social media. And that really starts up the negative self-talk, the imposter syndrome, all of those things that really tend to keep us stuck in place. Also, women are more likely to be perfectionists. And if we tell ourselves that if we can't do it perfectly, we're not going to do it at all, or we're telling ourselves that we have to do it perfectly and that keeps us from doing it at all, that is definitely a confidence problem. Also, many of us love to tell ourselves or use the word should. I should do this. I should do that. And sometimes we're also very good at even imagining things that we should do, or imagining things that we imagine other people are telling us to do. Okay. This could come from perhaps maybe the way we were raised. It could come from cultural expectations, those kinds of things. So I always tell my clients to be on the lookout for that word should, because that is a for sure confidence killer. And then another reason why women struggle with confidence is, we talked about this last week, I believe, and that is procrastination. We tend to procrastinate. And when we do procrastinate, it opens the door to imposter syndrome, because while we are procrastinating and waiting for the time to be right to take action, imposter syndrome starts to creep in and tells us that we have no right doing what we're supposed to be doing. We're not qualified. We don't deserve it. And then we end up not taking action towards our goals. That is another confidence killer. So how can we become more confident or self-confident? And for the purpose of the tips, I'm going to group confident and self-confidence together, because remember, confidence comes from doing things. We need self-confidence before we can do those things. Okay, so they are kind of tied together. So number one tip to become more confident and self-confidence: own your accomplishments. And what I mean by this is accept compliments when people give them to you. Don't deflect. I talked about this last week as well. So a lot of times when someone, think about what happens when someone gives you a compliment. Do you brush it off, or do you accept it? Do you minimize your effort, even if you worked your butt off to do the thing that you did? So many times we tend to minimalize our accomplishments and deflect, instead of really saying, thank you, I did, and telling ourselves, like, I did a really great job. Okay. Also, it helps to take notice of the good, especially when we're struggling or feeling discomfort, or we're not getting the results we're looking for. Our brain automatically goes searching for the bad, what went wrong. Instead, be aware of that and take notice of what went right. Take notice of the good, because when you do, you're going to give your brain more good things to look for. Okay, the brain looks for what you tell it to look for. It's called the reticular activating system. I'm going to talk about it a little bit more here in a minute. So give your brain good things to look for, and it will start to find more good things for you. That will grow your self-confidence, which will make you more confident. Next tip is to be aware of comparing yourself to other women, comparing yourself to people in your social circle, to images you see on television and on the internet. Everybody's got their own story. Everybody's got their own struggles, their own deals. But unfortunately, when we are comparing ourselves to someone else, our brain naturally wants to compare our worst to their best. And sometimes that best that we're seeing isn't even real. We know that a lot of social media images and internet images are brushed up. Tornado warning. Okay, be aware. Let's see. So be aware of comparing. The only person you should compare yourself to is the person you were yesterday. Not even comparing yourself to the person that you're going to become. Okay. Compare yourself to the person you were yesterday. Did you grow? Did you do something hard that you never had considered doing before? Okay. Remember, it's also all about how far you've come and not how far you still have to go. And finally, one of my best pieces of advice to a lot of my writers is I tell everyone, don't compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 31. A lot of times when we are beginning and we're looking at people who are farther down the road ahead of us, we tend to think like, well, why is it so easy for them? And we forget that there was a time when they were at their beginning as well. Another way to become more confident and self-confident is to detach your self-worth from the outcome. Women are great at putting their self-worth, equating their self-worth with their accomplishments, with the outcome that they get. I want to remind you, you are the only one who knows your plan. So if you plan to do something, like let's say you're giving a presentation at work and it doesn't go exactly as you were hoping, and you're thinking like, oh, wow, I really bombed that. Truth is, you probably didn't bomb it because no one except you knew what you planned to do, knew what you had visualized was going to be the result. So remembering that you're really the only one who knows your plan will help you be more confident. Also, I want you to remember to look at the journey and who you've become. And finally, and this is a good question to consider, are your expectations for yourself and how much time you're allowing yourself to meet those expectations? Are you giving yourself enough time? Is it realistic? Because a lot of times we have these great big expectations for ourselves and we think it's going to happen in a week, and it just doesn't. Next, I would like for you to visualize the results you want. And this is what I was talking about earlier with the reticular activating system. That's the part of our brain that goes looking for whatever it is you tell it to find. So if you are visualizing the results, and visualizing means like making a movie in your mind, like stopping and imagining the results that you want and how you're going to get them, the brain is going to go to work on making that happen. Okay, I've given this example before about the reticular activating system. It's like you buy a red minivan, and then all of a sudden you start noticing other red minivans, whereas before maybe you never noticed them. So now you've given your brain something to look for. Okay, and remember that when you are visualizing the results you want, you can make it easy for yourself. Getting the things you want doesn't have to be hard. Okay, a lot of times we make them hard because we think that it has to be hard, but it doesn't. We can choose easy. It is okay for it to be easy for us. Okay. Also, visualizing the results we want stops spinning in confusion. When we don't know where we're going or where we want to go, we tend to sit in confusion and just kind of stall there and spin in this like numbness of whatever's going on. Okay. Visualize the results you want will stop that spinning because you will see the steps you need to take. And finally, I want you to decide ahead of time that you are going to be successful with whatever it is you're trying to do. Because you can absolutely do that. And deciding ahead of time that you'll be successful is incredibly, incredibly powerful. Okay. How to also become more confident and self-confident. Don't procrastinate. And I speak as like the head procrastinator here. I can tell you, procrastination is an invitation for imposter syndrome and other self-doubt to come in and start doing their thing. If you create the result it is that you're looking for as quickly as you can, you block out the opportunity for that imposter syndrome and self-doubt to sneak in. Okay. Also work on creating a track record of taking intentional, timely action. I had a client tell me last week that she was very excited because for the first time, she had actually gotten a proposal at work submitted a day before the deadline. And I said to her, how good does that feel? And she's like, it feels fantastic. And so then she's like, I think I'm going to try it again. Okay. When we procrastinate and we let those things just sit there, they don't get done. That's something else, like you're taking up your bandwidth to worry about those things that you need to do. And finally, remember that Nike quote, just do it, just get it done. Okay. You're going to do it anyways. You might as well do it quickly and then you can be done with it. Another way to become more confident or self-confident is to make a plan. And when I talked about visualizing before, this is kind of what I was talking about. I teach my clients backwards design, which means we start with their goal and we work backwards in action steps to help them reach that goal. Okay. Because when we know where we're going, it's like, I want to take a trip to, let's say, Dallas. Okay. I know I'm going to go to Dallas. I'm going to take a map and I'm going to plan out the steps I need to take, like the road that I need to take. It's the same thing with like a recipe, looking at a recipe in reverse. When you start with where you want to end up, you can work backwards into the action steps. Okay. This also helps us avoid spinning in confusion because we don't know what to do next. I also encourage you to stop negative self-talk. Negative self-talk does not make one more confident. And as a matter of fact, it is very counterproductive. Remember that positive results do not come from negative feelings. Okay. You cannot make yourself feel bad about something and still get the positive results. Well, that's not true. You can, but it is not going to be fun. It is not going to feel good. One of my favorite sayings that I tell myself when the negative self-talk starts is, I don't talk to myself like that anymore. Okay. It tends to stop it. It's just a very simple sentence. I don't talk to myself like that anymore. And then that kind of frees my brain to go on to the next thing and continue taking action. Because I want you to remember how important those thoughts are that you're thinking. And if we're having that negative self-talk, if you look here at the bottom, the thoughts or beliefs that we have, that negative self-talk that maybe we've been having for our whole entire lives and has become our beliefs, that affects how we feel, which affects the actions that we take and the things we avoid, which then creates our results. Okay, so that negative self-talk, it's right at the bottom. It's at the bottom of the chain. So you're not going to get the result you want with that negative self-talk. And remember Henry Ford, I found this quote and I'm like, it is so true. Whether you think you can or think you can't, you are right. Okay, that is the power of your possible thinking. Another tip, challenge yourself. Take yourself off autopilot. Do something new. See what's possible for yourself. Be bold. Ask yourself, when was the last time that you impressed yourself? Okay. If it's been a while, perhaps it's time. And remember, you can be self-confident to do that thing that's going to impress you, which will create confidence for the next time. So you're really paying it forward for yourself. Another one of my favorite quotes, you must do the thing you think you cannot do. And this is a quote that I actually do. I have found myself like muttering it almost as a mantra when I get in a state of discomfort from doing something new. I just find myself saying the sentence over and over. You must do the thing you think you cannot do. You must do the thing you think you cannot do. And it tends to get me out. So finally, another tip, hire a coach. Go from where you are now to where you want to be faster and easier. That is what a coach does. If you're not familiar with coaching, that is exactly what a coach does. We help you get the result you're looking for faster and easier. You experience much less self-doubt. We teach you how to separate thoughts from facts, and we are really good at pointing out when you are having a thought that you are believing to be a fact and it's not. Okay. And we also help you stay on track with course corrections. So I want you to remember from today, experience creates confidence. Self-confidence is created by trusting yourself and using your past experience as motivation. Remember, your primal brain does not want you to be confident, but you get the final say. Okay, just because your primal brain is pulling its shenanigans with self-doubt doesn't mean that you have to give in. As a matter of fact, you can be like, oh, okay, well, this is what this is what you do, and I'm expecting you to do that. So now I'm going to decide to take different action versus giving into you. Also remember, excuse me, you get to decide what your results mean. So going back to that thing about no one else knows your plan, you get to decide if what you did in an act of building your confidence and your self-confidence, if you didn't get the results you wanted, you get to decide what you want to make that mean. And then I'd also like to remind you about the 50-50 rule, which is that there is both good, there's both progress and moving backwards or staying still. There is both good and bad in this life. We cannot expect for it to be 100% go, 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 100% success. There are times when we are going to struggle. If we normalize that and understand that struggle is a part of success, we're not going to use it against ourselves and thinking something went wrong. Okay. And finally, the things your brain tell you about your confidence are thoughts. Thoughts are not facts. So the things that your brain is telling you are not facts. They are just thoughts. They come to you with all of your background experience and feelings and everything all mixed up in there. And so thoughts can be questioned and changed if you're willing to do the work. So if you are someone who would like help with your confidence or any other self-doubt that's holding you back, or you have something you would like to talk through, I invite you to join me for a power hour session. This is just for October. It's an hour, one topic, issue, or problem you need help with. It's just $99, which is an incredible value. You'll come to me with one thing and we will figure it out in an hour.